I stood in my small attic room, staring at the golden invitation in my trembling hands. The wealthy Harrison family wanted me, their maid, at their grand charity ball. My heart pounded against my ribs. They'd never been kind to me. Not once in 3 years. Why now? I didn't know a mysterious billionaire was watching, and this night would expose everyone's true colors. Before we begin, if you love stories about karma and unexpected twists, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. Trust me, you won't see this ending coming. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Isabella. I'm 28 years old, and for the past 3 years, I've been living in hell disguised as a mansion. Every morning, my alarm screams at 4:30. I drag myself out of bed in this cramped attic room where the ceiling slants so low I can't even stand up straight on one side. The Harrison mansion is beautiful from the outside. White columns, perfectly manicured gardens, the kind of place you see in magazines. But inside, it's my personal nightmare. I scrub their floors until my hands crack and bleed. I cook their gourmet meals and then eat stale bread in the corner of the kitchen, alone. Mrs. Catherine Harrison treats me like dirt beneath her designer shoes. Her daughter Amanda, she's even worse. She actually records videos of me working and posts them online, mocking me to her thousands of followers. Look at the help struggling with the vacuum, so pathetic. Her friends laugh in the comments while I pretend not to see. Mr. Gregory Harrison, the father, pretends I don't exist. He looks right through me like I'm invisible. The only one with any trace of humanity is their son Christopher. He's 26, and sometimes he'll say thank you or ask if I'm okay, but he's too weak to stand up to his family. I understand. They're terrifying. My only possession worth anything is a faded photograph of my mother. She died when I was 19, leaving me completely alone in this world. I can still hear her voice sometimes. Keep your head high, Isabella. No matter what happens, you keep your head high. I try, Mom. I really try. But that Tuesday afternoon, something inside me broke. Amanda had spilled an entire bottle of red wine on the white carpet. Deliberately. I watched her do it. Then she called her mother and blamed me, right in front of her giggling friends. I had to get on my hands and knees and scrub while they stood there, recording me, laughing. Look at her. This is why she'll never be anything. Just a maid. Always a maid. Mrs. Harrison cut my already tiny salary as punishment. I went to my attic room that night and cried until I had no tears left. I was making barely enough to survive, and now even that was gone. I stared at my mother's photograph and whispered, I can't do this anymore. The next morning, Mrs. Harrison called me downstairs. This was unusual. She normally barked orders through the intercom system. When I entered the living room, she was sitting on her cream-colored sofa with Amanda beside her. Both of them had this gleam in their eyes that made my stomach turn. Isabella, Mrs. Harrison said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. We're hosting the biggest charity ball of the season next Saturday. 500 guests, billionaires, celebrities, politicians, the most important people in the city. She paused dramatically, then handed me a golden envelope. You should come. Experience how the other half lives. Amanda could barely contain her giggles. She was recording this on her phone, of course. I took the invitation with shaking hands. I saw it immediately. The trap, the setup, the cruel joke. They wanted to humiliate me publicly, parade me in front of their rich friends in my shabby clothes, and laugh at the poor maid who thought she belonged. But something in me snapped. Maybe it was the 3 years of abuse. Maybe it was my mother's voice in my head. Maybe I was just tired of being their victim. I looked Mrs. Harrison straight in the eye and said, Thank you. I'll be there. Her smile faltered for just a second. She hadn't expected me to accept. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I heard voices coming from Mr. Harrison's study. I crept closer and pressed my ear against the door. Mrs. Harrison was on the phone with someone. Yes, the maid will be there. It'll be hilarious. We'll have photographers ready to capture her embarrassment. Can you imagine? Her showing up in rags while everyone else is in designer gowns. Amanda's voice chimed in. Mom, this is genius. When she shows up looking pathetic, everyone will see what happens when poor people try to fit in where they don't belong. Mr. Harrison sounded bored. Just make sure it doesn't backfire. We need these investors impressed, not distracted by your games. Mrs. Harrison laughed coldly. Relax, darling. She's nobody. What could possibly go wrong? I stood there in the hallway, my whole body shaking with rage and humiliation. Tears streamed down my face. They were even crueler than I'd thought. This wasn't just about mocking me. They wanted to destroy whatever dignity I had left. You heard them, didn't you? I spun around. Christopher was standing there in his pajamas, his face full of sympathy and shame. I couldn't speak. I just nodded, wiping my tears. He looked around nervously, then pulled out his phone. Isabella, look at this. He showed me a news article. Mysterious billionaire attending Harrison charity ball, identity unknown. I stared at him, confused. This person, Christopher continued, his voice barely a whisper, they've been investigating families like mine, exposing fake charities and corrupt businesses. They're coming to our ball. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you deserve justice, and I think they're coming for my family. He pulled out an envelope and pressed it into my hands. There's $500 here. Please don't let them win. Show up. Something big is going to happen that night, and you deserve to be there when it does. I looked at this young man who'd grown up with every privilege, and I saw genuine kindness in his eyes. Thank you, I whispered. The next morning, I counted my money. I had my life savings, $200. With Christopher's gift, I had $700 total. It wasn't much, but it was enough. I spent the entire week visiting thrift stores across the city. I tried on dozens of dresses, but nothing felt right. Then, in a tiny shop in the old part of town, I found it. The dress was deep red, vintage, from the 1960s. It was elegant and timeless, with a fitted bodice and a flowing skirt. The moment I put it on, I felt different, stronger. The shop owner, an elderly woman named Helen, watched me with knowing eyes. That dress belonged to a movie star, she said softly. It's worth thousands, you know. My heart sank. I only have $300 for a dress. Helen studied me carefully. You're running from something, or running toward something. Both, I admitted. She smiled. Then you need to look like you've already won. 300 is enough. Take it. I spent the next few days watching makeup tutorials online, practicing my walk in borrowed heels, learning how to style my hair. Every night, doubt crept in. What was I doing? I was just a maid. Who did I think I was? But then I'd remember every insult, every humiliation, every moment they made me feel worthless. And I'd hear my mother's voice, keep your head high. The night of the ball arrived. I stood in front of my tiny mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back at me. My dark hair was styled in soft, elegant waves. My makeup was simple but perfect. And the red dress, it transformed me into someone I'd never been before. Someone confident, someone worthy. I took a taxi to the mansion. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The entire driveway was lined with luxury cars, Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, Ferraris. I arrived in a beaten-up taxi. The driver looked at me in his rearview mirror. You've got this, miss. Go show them who you are. The security guards at the entrance smirked when they saw me step out of the taxi. But when I handed them my invitation, their smirks faded. It was real. They had to let me in. Enjoy your evening, miss, one of them muttered. The mansion had been transformed into a palace of lights. A classical orchestra played in the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Hundreds of guests in designer gowns and expensive tuxedos mingled with champagne glasses in their hands. And then there was me, at the top of the grand staircase. For a moment, nobody noticed. I stood there, my heart hammering so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. Then, slowly, the conversations began to die down. Heads turned. The orchestra faltered, then stopped completely. Every single person in that ballroom was looking at me. I took a deep breath, remembered my mother, and began my descent down the stairs. Each step felt like slow motion. The silence was deafening. I could see faces in the crowd, shock, admiration, confusion, curiosity. And then I saw the Harrisons. Mrs. Harrison's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. The sound echoed through the silent room. Amanda's mouth hung open, her phone dangling forgotten in her hand. Mr. Harrison had gone completely pale. Only Christopher was smiling, a small, proud smile. The whispers started like wildfire. "Who is she? That dress is vintage Dior. I've never seen her before. She's absolutely stunning." An elderly man in an expensive suit murmured to his companion, "She carries herself like royalty." I reached the bottom of the stairs, my legs somehow still working despite my terror. Mrs. Harrison rushed over, her face a mask of fake pleasantness, but I could see the fury in her eyes. Through gritted teeth, she hissed, "What game are you playing?" I smiled serenely. "No game, Mrs. Harrison. You invited me to your charity ball. I'm here to support charity." Amanda tried to intervene. "Everyone, this is just our—" But a sophisticated woman in a royal blue gown interrupted her. "I'm sorry, I don't believe we've met. I'm Patricia Monroe, CEO of Monroe Industries." She extended her hand to me warmly. I shook it, barely believing this was happening. "Isabella, just Isabella." More guests surrounded me, genuinely curious and friendly. The Harrisons were trapped. They couldn't expose their cruelty without revealing what kind of people they truly were. They had to stand there and smile while their maid was treated like a guest of honor. Then he appeared. A tall man in an impeccable tuxedo, probably in his late 40s, with salt and pepper hair and the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. He had a commanding presence that made people instinctively step aside as he approached. "You seem different from the usual crowd here," he said, his voice warm and rich. "I could say the same about you," I replied, surprising myself with my boldness. He smiled. "I'm Nathan." "And you are?" "Isabella." "Just Isabella. No last name, no title. Just Isabella is enough." His smile widened. "I like that. Would you like to dance?" Before I could overthink it, I said yes. He led me to the dance floor, and suddenly we were waltzing beneath the chandeliers. He was an excellent dancer, and somehow I kept up. The entire room was watching us, but for the first time all night I didn't care. "So how do you know the Harrisons?" he asked casually. I hesitated, then decided on honesty. "I work for them." "Ah, and what do you do?" I took a deep breath. "I'm their maid." I waited for the shock, the disgust, the sudden end to our dance. Instead, he smiled even wider. "That explains it." "Explains what?" "Why you're the most genuine person in this room." My eyes filled with tears. I blinked them back quickly. He noticed anyway. "Can I tell you something, Isabella?" His voice was gentle. "My mother was a maid. Single parent, worked 3 jobs to raise me. She died before she could see me succeed, before she could see what her sacrifices created." I stopped dancing. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be. Everything I built to honor her memory, to prove that where you start doesn't determine where you finish." He looked at me intently. "You remind me of her. That same quiet strength, that same dignity." We talked for almost an hour, right there on that dance floor. I told him everything, about losing my parents, about struggling alone, about the Harrisons' cruelty, about my dreams of finishing my education and maybe becoming an art teacher someday. He listened to every word like it mattered. Then the auctioneer took the stage. The charity auction was beginning. Expensive items were displayed: jewelry, vacation packages, original artwork. Amanda bid recklessly on everything, showing off her family's wealth. Then came an item that made my heart ache. Next item, the auctioneer announced, a full scholarship fund for underprivileged students. This will provide education opportunities for young people who otherwise couldn't afford it. Starting bid is $1,000. I wanted so badly to bid, but I only had $50 left in my purse. Still, I raised my hand. $50? Gasps and giggles rippled through Amanda's group of friends. Amanda's voice rang out, mocking and cruel. $5,000! She was laughing at me, showing everyone the difference between us. 10,000, someone bid. 15,000. 20,000. Then Nathan's voice, calm and clear. $100,000. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. 100,000 going once, going twice. The auctioneer could barely contain his excitement. And, Nathan added, I want the scholarship fund to be called the Isabella Hope Fund. Thunderous applause erupted. I was crying, openly crying, and I didn't care. Nathan squeezed my hand gently. Mrs. Harrison looked like she might faint, but the night wasn't over, not even close. Mrs. Harrison's friend Melissa, clearly drunk on champagne, suddenly announced in a loud voice, Catherine, I can't believe your maid actually came. This prank is hilarious. Inviting the help to humiliate her in front of everyone. The nearby guests froze. Patricia Monroe's voice cut through the awkward silence like a knife. What prank? Melissa, oblivious to the horror on Mrs. Harrison's face, continued. Catherine invited her maid as a joke. Can you imagine the audacity of... She finally noticed everyone staring at her. Mrs. Harrison tried to laugh it off. Melissa is drunk. She doesn't know what she's saying. Isabella is... We treat her like family. Stop lying, Mother. Everyone turned. Christopher stood there, his face set with determination. I've watched you humiliate Isabella for 3 years. I've watched you cut her pay for Amanda's mistakes, mock her when she couldn't afford proper shoes, record her and laugh with your friends like her pain was entertainment. Christopher, shut up, Amanda hissed. No, Amanda. I'm done being silent. He pulled out his phone. I have videos, recordings, everything. Mrs. Harrison lunged for the phone, but security guards stepped between them. The crowd was horrified, murmuring in shock and disgust. Then Nathan walked to the center of the room. His entire demeanor changed, from charming dance partner to someone with absolute authority. Perhaps I should introduce myself properly, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. My name is Nathan Cole. Some of you might know me as the anonymous donor who's been funding charity fraud investigations. The shocked whispers turned into gasps of recognition. Nathan Cole? The billionaire? He's worth $15 billion, Nathan continued, pulling documents from his jacket. I've been investigating the Harrison family charity for 6 months. Of the $2 million raised last year, only $50,000 went to actual charitable causes. The rest? Personal expenses, luxury vacations, designer clothes. This entire family has been committing fraud. Mr. Harrison tried to leave. Security guards blocked all the exits. Oh, Nathan added calmly, and I've already contacted the authorities. They're outside. The room erupted in chaos. Nathan turned to me. Isabella, would you like to say anything? All eyes turned to me. Mrs. Harrison looked terrified. Amanda was crying. Mr. Harrison had gone grey. I took a deep breath. For 3 years, you made me feel worthless, I said, my voice steady and strong. You treated me like I was invisible, like I didn't matter, like I was less than human. My voice grew stronger. But tonight, I realized something. My worth was never yours to decide. I came here expecting humiliation. Instead, I found kindness from strangers and cruelty from people who claimed to be charitable. I looked directly at Mrs. Harrison. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. And I quit. I dropped my attic room key on the marble floor. The sound echoed in the silent ballroom. Then something incredible happened. The entire room burst into applause, a standing ovation. For me, the maid. I walked out of that mansion with my head high, just like my mother taught me. The next 6 months changed my entire life. The Harrisons were investigated. Mr. Harrison faced fraud charges. They lost everything: their reputation, their wealth, their social standing. Amanda, who'd never worked a day in her life, got a job in retail. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Christopher cut ties with his family and became a social worker, finally free to be the good person he'd always wanted to be. And me, Nathan offered me a job as director of his new charity foundation, the Isabella Hope Foundation. We've helped 200 students get scholarships so far. I'm taking online college classes, working toward my degree. I have a small but beautiful apartment. For the first time in my life, I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. Nathan and I, we're partners now, in every sense of the word. Business and personal. He saw me when I was invisible to everyone else, and that changed everything. Last week, I saw Mrs. Harrison in a coffee shop. She was older, tired, broken. Our eyes met. She looked away in shame. But I walked over to her table and placed my business card in front of her. "When you're ready to start over," I said gently, "when you're ready to really help people, call me." She picked up the card with trembling hands, tears in her eyes. That night was supposed to break me. Instead, it freed me. The Harrisons thought they were teaching me my place, but they taught me something far more valuable: that dignity can't be bought, and respect can't be demanded. It must be earned. And sometimes, the people who have the least give the most. That mysterious billionaire didn't just change my life. He showed me that success means nothing if we don't lift others up with us. Today, I'm not just the girl who survived, I'm the woman who thrived, and I'm making sure others get the same chance I got. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button right now. Have you ever been underestimated and then proved everyone wrong? Drop your story in the comments. I want to hear it. Subscribe and hit that bell, because next week's story is even more dramatic. Remember, your current situation is not your final destination. Keep your head high. I'll see you in the next one, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.